What's up, listeners? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the In the Endzone podcast. Just a quick heads up before we jump into it, you can find this episode as well as some of our previous recordings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us there by searching at Settle Down Podcast. Also, be sure to follow us on our social medias. We post on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find those by searching at Settle Down Media on all three of those platforms. So thanks for doing that, and enjoy the rest of this episode.
Yo. What's possible,
fellas?
We're
Just
back.
a little bit of drip.
What in the world? Keaton, where did you get those?
Just a little bit of drip, boys.
Yo, those are sick.
Those are actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Where did you get those, Kansas City?
The Negro League Baseball Museum.
Okay.
I didn't want to mispronunciate my word there, but
Is
the
that
Negro
actually
League
what it's called?
started.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
they were
is.
found. It was founded in Kansas City, apparently.
Wow.
So me and my dad went
Wow.
to go check it out, and they had this whole sick museum, all this stuff. And anyway, they were selling a bunch of things. They only got one of these in. They were supposed to have two, and so they were selling it. It was $5 for a shoe, and I was like, sick. I'm just gonna hang it up. And it's got the. I forget
Wait,
what the
you didn't
team
even get a
invented
pair?
was. I didn't buy a pair. I wasn't gonna wear these even if I did buy a pair.
Wait, so
So I
you bought
bought
one
I mean,
shoe?
Keaton, let's just
They're-
talk about this a little bit for the viewers that don't know. Your style and shoes in the last couple of years haven't been the greatest, man.
Why
You
would
went
I
from the
wear?
Play-Doh 11s
Wait, hold
to
on,
the
hold on,
brown
hold on, hold on.
leather shoes.
Hold on,
That looks
listen.
like a
First
couch.
of all, all I wear are Adidas Ultra Boosts. I will never
Okay.
switch.
That's
Those are
right.
the only shoes I wear, other than a single pair of black Vans. Even if I got a full pair of these, the mocha, like the black leather kind
Yeah,
of suede,
yeah.
and then the red stitching, I would never wear them. So
That's
I
right.
figured, you know what, I could just get the single shoe for $5, because this is literally a one of one thing, and
Right.
just kind of put it up on my wall with all my other memorabilia
I like it.
because I wasn't going to wear it in the first place. So
Cool. Well,
yeah.
like we said last week, we have a special guest.
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll,
Yep.
please.
Yep.
I don't know.
Can we see
Wait,
him?
am I drum rolling?
Wait, what's happening? I can't see him. It says
Holy
he's in the
moly.
stage, but we can't see him.
Oh, I think I hold on.
Wow, Keaton.
I don't know. I didn't remove him. This is on you, pal.
Well, we had to. There it is.
Hey!
Oh, that's
Roberto, what's happening, man?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? Nice to finally be on board. Big fan of you guys. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to come on here and chat about anything and everything under the sun. So I'm definitely, I'll say honored to be here. So
yeah, man. That's awesome.
glad to be on board.
Well, thank you for being on, man.
Of course,
we
my
have-
pleasure.
Like we said earlier, we have a new guest. It's pretty cool to have him on because he's been supporting from the beginning. Thank you,
Loyal
Roberto,
OG.
for that. We seriously appreciate that. It's been awesome.
Big fan.
How did you,
Big fan.
Let's just get into it. How did you actually see us first? Was it just a YouTube live? I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah, I would say the algorithm is how I was able to see you guys. You know, I definitely, I was doing some research. I was trying to get caught up on, football and hockey a little bit more, which are two subjects that I know this channel seemingly talks about quite a bit, which I thought was cool. And I just remember one day seeing just the thumbnail settle down. Thought, oh, it seems pretty cool. And I just watched and I was just a big fan. You guys seem like a nice, genuine, cool group of guys who, talk sports and everything else. You guys vibe pretty well. It's a cool vibe, period. And so I was happy to hop on board and become a fan. It's definitely been fun to see. It seems like nowadays a lot of sports commentators, and not former athletes, because they have that, that G6 credibility. They have the credibility, but sometimes you'll see a lot of these sports commentators and sports critics who are very uppity, if you will. They're almost a little pompous. They're almost, kind of know-it-alls, and that can get kind of old because it seems like they're almost promoting their own self-image over just talking sports. Whereas with you guys, it just seems like you're just more just a group of cool, chill dudes who just like to come on here and talk sports. So I can vibe with that. I can jive with that.
Seriously, thank you for being on. That's awesome, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic. Honestly, I would say that that's probably like one of the main things that makes us happy with doing this. Obviously, we have some of our buddies that are fans from back home, but like just to have a fan that just came on randomly, like you're from Connecticut, right? You said,
Yeah, born and raised.
Connecticut. If you guys didn't know, we are hosting our Settle Down Media or our podcast from Boise, California. So it's cool to have fans that are genuine just from the algorithm and stuff like that rather than friends and family. So we appreciate you and the kind words. Seriously, it means a lot.
No joke. No problem.
Thank you.
I'm not, for those watching, I'm nobody's cousin on here. I'm no one's, I'm not an in-law, anything like that. I'm just a fan who found the channel and fell in love. So happy to be on.
Awesome, dude. That's seriously awesome. Well, let's just jump into it then. So obviously we had the draft 2 weeks ago, which we got toast on, by the way, talking about the Giants. We'll talk about that later. I don't know if you saw that video, but that was a tough one. But yeah, jumping into it, the Titans are signing free agent wide receiver Tyler Boyd. This is the first time I actually just saw this. Wow. Okay, that's actually kind of crazy. Obviously, he joins Calvin Ridley and D-Hop. What do you guys think about that? Do you think he has some years left, or think he's a little washed?
Tyler Boyd?
Tyler Boyd, he's got years. I think he's got at least a few.
He'd be okay.
He's going to be fine.
I
think that's going to be
I
a solid. I think that's a solid wide receiver crew right there. Honestly, Calvin Ridley with D-Hop and Tyler Boyd. Yeah, he's definitely got a few more years left. He's
I don't
chilling.
know, though. That core group is going to be a bit old. I think he's the youngest at 29.
Hey, you know what?
Calvin Ridley? Calvin Ridley's
No.
like 25 years old.
Tyler Boyd. No, he's
Tyler
not.
Boyd.
Calvin Ridley's damn near 30.
Give me a minute.
Remember, he went
Give
to
me
jail.
1 second. Give me a second. He didn't go to jail.
29 as well. 29.
He's 29.
Oh,
He's
no,
not
he
that
got
old.
suspended. He got suspended. He's
Calvin
what are you
Ridley.
talking
Calvin
about?
Ridley is 29. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
That's not that old. In
That's
wide
not that
receiver
old.
years,
He's
that's
fine.
not that old.
That's not that bad at all.
Wait, hold on. I don't think you heard me. I said that Tyler Boyd is the youngest at 29, which makes their core group of 3 wide receivers an older group.
Yeah, an older group in the terms of
With D-Hop.
I mean, yeah, but 29's not that old, is what I'm
Dude.
saying.
Pushing 30 gets to the point where it's like, are you still as athletic as you were when you were 22, 23, 24? Like, we've seen
Yeah,
this. We've seen it. I don't know.
Tyler
I like that,
Boyd's
though.
still. I mean, yeah.
I
AFC
think.
South,
consistent.
again, they're cooking.
I think all in
They're
all,
cooking.
that receiving core is going to be fine. Obviously, it's not going to be the greatest. It's not going to be like how all of them were in their primes or anything, but I think they're going to be fine. I think it's a solid core overall. Yeah, sure, they may be getting older, but I honestly see no problem with that lineup, honestly. I think that's a solid wide receiver
Dude, I'm telling
core
you.
that they got going on there now. I think, honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think Tyler Boyd is lightway underrated, in my opinion. I think he is.
I think he is too.
Yeah, he's no
That's
KJ
an,
Osborne.
that's an underrated. Okay, Keaton. Okay.
He's no KJ
That's an
Osborne.
underrated wide receiver 3 group. If that's their third wide receiver, that's definitely a underrated wide receiver group with those 3. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. The AFC South is cooking. They've had a great offseason. They're going to be a division to reckon with. That's for damn sure. Obviously, we like CJ Stroud and the Texans, and I don't know if we're overhyping them, but I think they're going to be pretty solid. Speaking about
like that.
It seems like CJ Stroud's kind of been like the benchmark that a lot of analysts have been saying of,
yeah, dude.
because the first round has been such a quarterback heavy round, for the draft this year, and it seemed like CJ Stroud was kind of the benchmark where people were saying, well, is this guy going to work out? Is this going to be like a CJ Stroud where he just comes in and from his rookie year, he's clearly just seemingly this well-established quarterback who you thought was playing in the NFL for 5 years. So,
We
definitely.
haven't really seen that ever, or it's been a while that we've seen someone do that well in their first year. So I
How
don't know.
did Cam Newton do well in his first year? I'm trying to remember now because I thought Cam Newton his first year. I'm trying to think.
He did great. I think he won Rookie of the Year.
I think he did well too, but not that good. CJ Stroud had like a historic rookie year. The only person that I can remember, and this reminds me a lot of their team too, that
He won
had
Rookie of
that
the Year.
good of a rookie of the year, a rookie year would be Joe Burrow. And I don't think he had that good of a year, but like the instant success reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow and that team. Now,
Yeah.
I think
I will say Cam Newton his first year in 2011 did also make the Pro Bowl. So
really?
yeah.
Wait, didn't
yeah.
CJ Stroud too? I think
Yeah,
CJ did.
I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying
Oh.
that Cam Newton's first year was was very much like, oh yeah, he's going to be that guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you think
he's got a son named Cashmere? What a stupid name.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
We might be glazing him a bit, but
For the Titans, do you think that perhaps, and this might be a bit of a shot in the dark, but do you think for the Titans that this Tyler Boyd acquisition is then just trying to find ways to maybe bolster up that offense with some veteran talent now that Derrick Henry's gone?
That's a good point. That's a good
I
point.
think-
Possibly, but it's really hard to kind of replace a Derrick Henry. Like in the locker room at running back, veteran style. I think Tyler Boyd is good, but I don't think that's really where they're lacking, if that makes sense. That division's going to be so stacked, dude. But it is a good acquisition, and I like that with just locker room presence in general.
Yeah, a veteran. You know, he's been around for a minute. You know, maybe he can help the younger guys, maybe not wide receivers, because like you said, the youngest wide receiver is 29. So the other guy's got as much experience as him, but you know, still that veteran presence that can really help guys out, you know, because it's a grind, it's a tough game. So, you know, to have someone who's been around for a little while, I'm sure could really help.
You know, I will say, I think we are actually missing someone unless he got traded. Treylon Burks, is he still there? He's pretty young and he has some potential, but I don't even know where he's going to be in the depth chart. We should look that up.
Yeah, I mean, he did only have 221 yards last year, so
I just remember everyone blazing the hell out of him, and
I think I dropped him from my dynasty league like actually the other day.
Really?
Yeah, that's a player who's, I don't know, who knows what he'll be.
Yeah, he's not even in the first 3 wide receivers, so he's a wide receiver backup right now, which is kind of crazy because he was picked pretty high in the draft. But yeah,
18th overall.
That is pretty wild. I don't know. The Titans could be decent. I don't see them really doing much, but I do like that pickup. A guy that's been struggling though, Rashee Rice. What are we doing, bud? What are we doing?
So right now, Rashee Rice is under investigation for allegedly assaulting a photographer at a nightclub in Dallas. It's all happening in Dallas. Rashee, what are you doing, bud?
Yeah,
what are you doing, bud?
Dallas. Get out of there.
Get out of there. Get the fuck out of Dallas. Go back to Kansas City, bud. Just go back there. Like,
go eat some ribs or something, like some barbecue. Stop getting in trouble, dude.
He's not helping his case out right now at all. If he keeps going with it, he's done. Like, he will be done. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck of what the whole rule is with the NFL and what they do, how to protect the players and whatnot. Like, he's gonna be done if he keeps going, whatever the fuck he's doing.
He'll be in the UFL in 3 years.
Yeah, dude. He's going wild. He won a Super Bowl and just went nuts. Like, what is going on, man?
I don't know what his issue is right now. All I know though is that if it's him, Marquise Brown, and Xavier Worthy, all 3 of them together, oh man, that's going to be dangerous. But looks like as of right now, it's looking like he may not even be there. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's got to stop. Rashee, if you're watching this right now, you need to stop, bud. I'm sorry.
You're losing out on millions, brother.
Millions. You are. You could
talent of that caliber.
Rashee, if you keep doing this, you're not going to be a part of that potential 3-peat, bud. Just stop.
Yeah, wasn't he the one that said something about that too?
Yep, he was.
Oh my god, dude. And he had a great year. 938 yards, 7 touchdowns, played well in the playoffs. Like, what are we doing, man?
I don't know.
It's sad, dude.
Keaton, do you have a thought on that? Do you have an opinion on all that?
Not really. I mean, he's just another wide receiver that's just lost to the riches of his own device. I don't know. I don't know how to phrase it properly, but he's essentially just, I don't know. He's not a lost cause. I think he just needs to surround himself with the right people. And I don't necessarily think the Chiefs at the moment have been doing a good enough job keeping him kind of on a leash, so to speak, because from everything that I've read and all this stuff, it doesn't sound like he's that type of person that is going to take accountability for his actions, especially being that he's so young and now he's got all this money. So it's like, there's that feeling like I'm untouchable. But at the same time, you do represent a business, and you also represent probably the most valuable NFL team right now in terms of, viewership and youthful watchability. And you're just kind of screwing it all up. Like if this is your last thing, if you were to break your leg and you could never play football tomorrow, this would be the legacy that you leave, is that you left the league with a
good point,
kind of a stinky poo-poo,
reputation.
Like, reputation. Thank you. That's what I was.
Reputation. That's the word.
So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Even if he doesn't stay out of Dallas, the least he should do is stay out of nightclubs. At the very least, that's a spot.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's pulling the John Morant special.
Yeah. I guess.
Serious, like, I wonder maybe he got like CTE or something during the Super Bowl and it just hit him all at once, like a week afterwards. And now he's just doing all this random bullshit. Because I'm like, dude, like, you're acting like you're a retired athlete that has nothing going on.
Smith.
Go train. Yeah. Go train, dude.
Rice.
What are we doing?
Like, well, this is my second Super Bowl? What am I doing?
I'm like, bro, what? Insane, man. Insane.
Also, just kind of going back to the Titans thing, they also did quietly pick up Tony Pollard, who is starting to get older.
I forgot about that.
27 years old, which in running back years is a little bit older because usually they get to about 30 and they're done. But I mean, he's coming off 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. This one had a lot more attempts, but a lot more receptions too. So I think he's gonna. I think they're gonna be fine. I think it's just giving Will Levis just more opportunities to be able to throw that ball. And I think Tyler Boyd also is less of a field stretcher, and he's more just like a 20-yard catch route type of guy.
Right.
He can explode off top of the ball, but I think he just provides a little bit more like spacing.
Consistent too.
Yeah, he just provides spacing.
Spacing's the right word.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know if we talked about this last week, but the Cowboys did something yet again. Their third pickup. They picked up Zeke again for no reason.
Oh,
Don't really know what's going on with that. Dude, the Cowboys, man, I am honestly shocked. I guess you can actually talk about this because they're in your division because you're a Giants fan. But we've talked about this all offseason. We don't understand what they're doing. Like, do they want to win this division still, especially with the Eagles being as good as they are and got over this last offseason? Like, they're in your division. So if you have anything that you want to say that we haven't talked about, go for it because we're confused.
Well, as a Giants fan, any bad decision that a team in the same division makes, I'm all on board with. So go tear it up, Zeke. Go do it, man. But I mean, look, I don't know what exactly their rationale was. I remember when I actually saw the article, the thumbnail saying that they had signed Ezekiel Elliott. And I was very closely looking at the date posted, trying to make sure this wasn't, back when they had signed him the first time. And I realized, wait, they're signing him again. But apparently that's the case. So, look, I really don't know what the Cowboys are thinking right now. It seems like people just don't trust anything the Cowboys say right now. I even saw a video the other day where they were just calling out lies that their head coach said. And, he was talking about how, he said, like, we're a winning culture. And they put lie. And, like, we want to win, lie. And then, I think the biggest question, if I tried to put myself in the boots of a Cowboy fan, I think the real question more is Dak Prescott. Do Cowboy fans really feel like Dak Prescott is the quarterback of the future? Because I don't think they're bringing Ezekiel Elliott in to try and be this game changer, that's really going to take them over the top, especially with the departure of Tony Pollard. But, really, I'd be more concerned with Dak, in the quarterback situation, because I think the common denominator over the past few years for the Cowboys has been we're the least set on our quarterback. Like other positions, obviously, like you have an elite wide receiver in I'm always slipping on his name. CeeDee Lamb. I almost said CJ Lamb, but I got it mixed up there. But yeah, you have an elite wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and I just think, if I was a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't even worry about Ezekiel's pickup. I'd be more worried about, what are we going to do at the quarterback position? And I can second that motion as a Giants fan because, we're most questionable about our QB right now too.
Daniel Jones. Right.
Exactly.
We'll get into that too, but I don't know. It almost feels like the Cowboys front office and their quarterback, along with their head coach, has almost lost the team. Like it kind of just seems like that culture is going downhill. And I don't know if it's maybe something that's been brewing for a while now. And obviously that ownership has been kind of shitty for a good amount of time, but it just seems like the head coach, the ownership, even Dak has kind of lost the locker room, and a lot is just happening with that team that doesn't look good in a division that is getting better. And it's also like you have a team to win right now. Like, why aren't we trying to win right now? So I don't know if it's a losing culture thing, what exactly they're thinking with that. If you guys have anything you want to say with that, go for it. But I just look at it. It doesn't make sense. Like, you go from 12-5. They were 12-5 last year, right? Won the division.
I believe so.
Made the playoffs. Obviously didn't win because they never win. It's Dallas. But, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, do you believe in Dak? Do you believe in your ownership? Do you believe in the head coach? Or is it just a shitty culture and you're fine with it? Because at this point, that's what it seems like. It feels like that too. It's just weird. As a 49ers fan, I love it. But, dude, I would be pissed if I was a Cowboys fan. I would be upset. Very, very upset.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about Houston a little bit earlier, but this was something that was trending. J.J. Watt told Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans that he could come out of retirement and rejoin the team if it was absolutely needed. J.J. Watt coming back. Fellas, what do we think about that? Do you think he's too old? I think he's past his prime.
I don't think he's necessarily too old to play.
He's 35.
Hey.
He could do it.
Doesn't mean
he could do it.
But here's the issue. He just can't stay healthy to save his life. Everything he tries to do is just, it results in injuries, your torn pec or, leg injuries, things of that nature. I just don't personally see him being able to come back from all those and being a productive player. Then again, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I think if you're DeMeco Ryans, maybe you bring him on as like a defensive backs, like a defensive related coach, or you add him onto the roster as like just a veteran presence,
right?
Because they have so many good players on that team, especially on defense, specifically Will Anderson, that might be able to use some of the knowledge JJ Watt can provide. I just don't think he's going to be a benefit on that team. If anything, he might be a net detriment.
Right.
So.
I think he would work well with like a mentorship or maybe even just like a second stringer that would come in to rotate. But to start at 35, you already have an injury-prone career and you're known to be injury-prone. It would not make much sense to come back. Maybe to win a Super Bowl too. Maybe that's what he's thinking. And maybe Houston would do that just because he is a legend there. But I don't really understand it. Why wouldn't you just try to coach at that point? Yeah.
Maybe he misses the game and.
Yeah, it could be that.
Right. Ant, you got any thoughts?
I agree with Keaton. He's out of his prime. It's not due to age, in my opinion. It's due to injuries. Motherfucker's been beat up.
Yeah.
I get it. He was a stud. I know, Zach, you don't agree with that, but I honestly think he was a stud. And
I agree for 5 years, but the rest of the years he was mediocre.
He balled out. I think he was really, really good. He just took a lot of beatings, and I think that's why that I don't think he should come out of retirement. I think he needs to stay retired. I don't see the benefit of him coming back, if that makes sense. I don't see the Texans making
There's really no need
progress for him to come back. I don't see that happening. Right. I find, if anything, that's just going to lead to more injuries for him. That's just more hospital bills right there. I for sure hells know that no one really wants to pay that. So I'd say, JJ, don't come out of retirement. Stay happy. Do what you're doing. You're doing great.
He's going to watch this too.
Yeah, I know he is. That's why
I'm sure. We're going to tag him too.
That's why I'm talking to him.
At JJ Watt.
At JJ Watt.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, man. Hey, we got a spot for you on Settle Down, brother.
Yes, we do.
If you're thinking about just retiring in general, we got a spot for you, brother.
We do. We do have a spot for you. For
what year did you
like I said, you're a dog. You're a dog, all right? I'm just pointing that out there. All right.
2020?
That's it for me.
Or 2022, I saw.
Oh, 2022, yeah.
It
feels a lot longer.
Yeah, I thought it would have been like 2020 or 21.
Holy shit. It's only been a year? Like one season?
Okay, but like it's been like 2-3 seasons since he's been healthy enough to really play.
True. That's weird.
I think that could possibly be a contributing factor, is the fact that, he's been away from the game for a year, so that's a year of not getting hit. That's a year of not having to deal with the grind of the season. That's a year with not having to deal with injuries, which he's prone to.
Right.
And I think sometimes you might just start to maybe he's just convinced himself that he's got one more good run in him. It could be that. Sometimes.
Well, yeah. No, I hear you saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. That was pretty much the point I wanted to make. That I think sometimes, there's a phrase. It takes you a certain amount of time to lose the venom, right? And JJ Watt has that. I mean, look, it is prime, and I'm not a Houston Texans follower, but even I recall him he played the game so hard. He's the guy. He's one of those guys where you could tell he played for more than a paycheck. He gave a shit when he was on that field. I mean, he literally bled. He bled for the Houston Texans. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He gave everything he had, and I think
literally.
that if he hasn't lost that venom yet, I could picture him saying, "You know what? It's not like I'm a wide receiver. It's not like they need me to be fast or anything like that. He's clearly still in tremendous shape." I think there was a post of him not too long ago where you'd have thought he was going to try out for the WWE. I mean, he's still huge, and as naturally competitive as a lot of football players are, I wouldn't be surprised if he just said, "Dude, just let me see what it's like one more time. Just let me get one more good tackle.
Yeah.
Let me just one more time hear that crowd. While I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm also not 40.
Right.
But that won't be the case forever. So that goes beyond numbers. But I wouldn't be surprised if in his heart of hearts that's really what it is, and just reaching out and saying, "Hey, if the Texans have a taste for me coming back for a year, let's go for it." Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Really, what a ring too.
Yeah. And I think that's the
and they're
biggest
in a
thing.
position to get it.
Yeah.
Right. And
he could provide
I think they're a
meaningless
Super Bowl
minutes.
contender. I just don't know if he could provide meaningless minutes. And I know you just said that, but I think about it like this, like Houston's front seven is not that weak anymore. Like they did a great job in the offseason. They have a decent defense now. Their front seven is pretty good with what they've drafted and what they've signed. And I just don't know how JJ would actually fit into that that defense. Into that situation, I just don't know if it would make a lot of sense. But if he does have some meaningless, or if he has some meaningful minutes left, why not sign him? I mean, he deserves a ring there. If Houston's going to be good, he should be a part of it, So I don't know. That one's crazy. I really do like that, though. It would be cool to see him back at 35. Yeah. And if he was dominant too, that would be crazy.
Oh my God. Who knows? It would be quite a cool story, years from now. The guy who left Houston, was injury prone all the time, retired for a year, came back for one season, and that one season was this awesome run.
Yeah, dude.
Led by CJ Stroud.
And they win it all. Yeah.
Oh my God. You'd see him crying at the Super Bowl, and it's in New Orleans. It's in New Orleans this coming year, right? So you'd see him crying in New Orleans, and I mean, JJ is a good presence, not just on the field, but also off the field. I think he's good. He's a good analyst. He's good on the mic. He's a good representation of the upstanding athlete. In terms of someone who you want talking to the media and stuff like that. And that all, I think, also comes with that veteran presence, is that, the media is its own animal, and that goes in any sport. And as a New York sports fan, we've seen tremendous athletes who had all the talent and capabilities to succeed, but when they had to deal with the crucifying force that is the media out here, sometimes you see them crumble. So we've learned to admire and respect athletes who can handle that. And I think JJ can. Yeah. And so a presence like that can't hurt, because that could possibly be a guiding light. So that way the Texans avoid a situation such as what you're seeing in Kansas City with, Rashee Rice. Maybe he can take some guys under his wing and show you this is what to do, this is what not to do. And I don't think that can hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the next thing that we were going to talk about was Kirk Cousins. This is not a good look at all. I'm sorry. This one's kind of sad, to be honest with you. But one of the reasons why Kirk Cousins left the Vikings was because their intentions to draft a quarterback was high in the 2024 NFL draft. Kirk Cousins ended up signing with the Falcons, obviously, and then we saw what the Vikings did with Michael Penix Jr. What do you guys think about this? I think it's kind of fucked. I don't understand why they picked Michael Penix Jr., and if you guys knew that he thought that specifically, why would you go out and draft a guy like that thinking, oh, he might be our future, but we just signed this guy for what was it, a 4-year, $100+ million deal? Like,
Oh, they
how
got
does that make sense? Exactly.
Okay, well, it's because a good chunk of it's not guaranteed. And the only issue I have with the Michael Penix thing is he's older, right? Like in the terms of like draft age, he's 24 years old. He's my age, right? Like he's right
I
about
think
that.
actually today's his birthday.
I'll look that up.
The issue, like playing devil's advocate on behalf of the Falcons, I kind of understand why they did it. I personally, maybe I'm biased.
Dude.
I'm possibly biased. I possibly think that Michael Penix is the best quarterback out of this draft. However, he's also coming off a lot of times where he's had so many injuries, and I think he also has a lot to learn. Like there is still that like raw talent that does need to kind of come out. And learning under a player like Kirk Cousins is really important. The also one of the big things is Kirk Cousins is coming off a pretty nasty ACL injury. And you're asking a guy to come back from that and produce at a very high level. Same thing. You're asking a guy to come back and perform at a high level. But you're asking him to, right? Yeah. They're both something.
All bad injuries. That start with an A.
Yeah. They both start with an A, have an L in it, and a C. But I think basically what they're saying is like, hey, we'll let Penix sit for 2 years. He's good draft, like trade capital if we need to. But what they're saying is basically they're going to have Kirk Cousins play this year and next year, and then they're going to get rid of him, offload the contract once the guaranteed money's paid for, and they'll still have a really good quarterback in Michael Penix for 2 seasons on a rookie contract. I like the pick. I question it because I don't think it was necessarily a position of need. But then again, you're getting a player like Penix who could be as good as advertised. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let me just speak about his contract real quick. He signed a 4-year, $180 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
$100 million of it is guaranteed.
Oh my God.
You basically just wasted 2 of his years with you. Like, whatever that guaranteed is after the 2 years, if what you're saying is correct, Eden, if what you're saying is correct, which I kind of do like that and could see it, you're wasting the 2 years and the guaranteed money that's on top of that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would you go out and draft him?
Well,
if you already signed Kirk,
they're paying him. By the time his 2 years are up, they're only going to owe him like $10 million. So it's not going to be that
$90
crazy.
million guaranteed in the first 2 years. I don't think so.
No, I mean it's just here. I'll do this real quick. I'll go spot track this. Shut up, spot track.
That's ridiculous.
Because this will tell me it should tell me what's guaranteed.
Well, I see $100 million, but
so okay,
guaranteed at sign is $90 million.
Yeah, but he got a signing bonus.
Yep. Jesus, dude.
Yeah, if he was out in 2027, they only take $12.5 million in dead cap. That's really not that bad. So he got a $50 million signing bonus with an average salary of $45 million. But basically, the big issue here is like their cap hit this year, $25 million. Next year, $40 million. But the 2 years after that, almost $60 million on the cap is Kirk Cousins' contract, even though he's only getting paid $45 million for those. So,
I guess that's fair.
But if they were to get rid of him,
ballsy thing to do.
If they got rid of him now or traded him, which they wouldn't, $90 million in dead cap, against the cap space,
right.
65 in 2025, but in 2026 offseason, it's only 25 million. So it's not that bad when you think about it. And you allow Penix, who's had 4 season-ending injuries, to get 2 more years of consistent health and consistent, watching and dissecting. And it's kind of like, I hate to say it, this is Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes right here. Patrick Mahomes was a little bit older coming out of the draft. He had all the talent in the world to be as good as he was. Also drafted 8th pick overall. Sat under Alex Smith for a year and then came out and dominated. And I think I could totally see them doing the same thing. The difference is they didn't just go out and get an Alex Smith.
This is the formula now. This is the formula, man.
I mean, it worked Jordan Love.
It's a really expensive Alex Smith. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But a similar quarterback to Alex Smith too.
If that is their plan, and they actually do that, do you think they've been planning to do this all along?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I don't think.
God, dude, it doesn't make sense to me.
But they're also one of the few teams that
dude.
didn't really have a huge position of need with everything, like with anything. I could see that. I mean,
yeah,
the good running back, great defensive talent, great offensive
line is
talent.
stacked. Yeah.
Line is stacked. Like they really what they were lacking was the quarterback, and we saw that all year. They competed for a divisional championship with with two bad quarterbacks, and they were bouncing in between. And now they have Mariota backup, whatever. That doesn't mean anything.
Why not just move back though? Did they not think Penix would be there?
No, because there's never been a quarterback that's been taken in the second. There hasn't been a quarterback in the last 6 years that's been taken in the second round. So it's usually it's true. Yeah. So
That's
it's the first
take.
Yeah, the second round quarterbacks are like almost non-existent now. And so that's why we saw Bo Nix. That's why we saw Michael Penix both drafted around that time. I also think from the Falcons perspective, Penix is one of those where it's like if you draft him with the first round pick and he doesn't perform, you can trade him and get value out of it. However, if he does perform, you might have the steal of the draft, right? And pay little money. I think Penix could be out of all the quarterbacks, not immediately. I think he could be the best quarterback out of the whole class. But if you put him in a situation, if you put him in a starting situation like Chicago right now, I don't think he'd perform to expectations. So
that's fair. That's fair.
Just like Patrick Mahomes.
It's an interesting, it's definitely been one of the bigger questions of the draft. What the belief for the Falcons thinking. But I actually have to kind of go with what I don't know if any of you guys watch Speak on Fox with Emmanuel Acho and Joy and those guys.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I like Acho. I like Acho. I like Acho a lot.
And in the end zone.
He played too.
Yeah, played.
Shameless plug. Plug.
But true. I watch In the End Zone, then I watch Speak. It's in the end zone first.
Right.
But no, I do have to give credit where credit's due because Acho kind of mentioned something, and I kind of agree with him that it seems like what the Falcons are doing is I don't mind the pick. Let me start with that. I don't mind their decision to get Kirk Cousins and then go with Michael Penix Jr. because, look, Kirk Cousins, to quote Mad Dog Russo, who is a staple here in the New York area.
Mad Dog is crazy, bro.
Mad Dog, and listen, my friend, that was on a daily, weekly basis when I was growing up. Mike and the Mad Dog, and then Mad Dog was on his own on Saturday, so he would just go off. He would kill on the Yankees.
Cocaine or something. He's got to be on drugs. He's crazy, bro.
For 20 years, man. For 20 years, but I remember him talking about the Kirk Cousins and how he was killing on Kirk because of Kirk kind of voicing his displeasure or his perhaps disagreement with the Falcons picking up Penix after they had signed him. Right. And that dog even said, you won one playoff game in your life. If that. He's only won one playoff game.
That's a pretty good impersonation.
That's a good
one playoff game in your life. So he had that. And so I think for Kirk Cousins, it's not like Kirk Cousins is, an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback, right? He's got some years under his belt. And I think for the Falcons in particular, the reason why I mentioned Nacho is because he said the Falcons are putting themselves in a position to win now and later. I'm a naturally very positive person. I do think that as long as he can stay healthy, Penix is talent-wise someone who I think is the most seasoned and ready to be a solid NFL quarterback, even if he's not going to start. I think he's right up there with the elite quarterbacks that they picked up in this draft. But, to kind of go off of what Keaton said, I don't think he's ready right now. And to have a quarterback who he can go under for those first 2 years, who is a veteran, and, well, yes, he's not Alex Smith in his prime. Kirk Cousins is still no pushover, and he still can take that highly talented offense and perhaps carry them deep into the season. And Michael Penix can.
Yeah. And he's gotten better year over year on that too.
He has, exactly. Yeah. So I think for Penix now, the one caveat I will say, the one asterisk to that is the fact that this would be more validated if Penix was a little bit younger, which he's not. So, because of the fact that he's got a couple more years under his belt, that could potentially throw a little bit of a monkey wrench at this plan that the Falcons have. But I think if it works out, they're putting themselves in a position to win now and in the future. Because Kirk Cousins, this is kind of a bridge between where they are now and where they see themselves, which I think is with Michael Penix Jr. being the quarterback, the franchise QB for the Atlanta Falcons. I see that. I think at the very least, I'll cap it off with this. Keaton, I think you said Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith 2.0. Whether or not it pans out that way, we'll see. But I think that's what the Falcons are trying. They're saying, look, this is the closest we have to a Patrick Mahomes available from the 8th pick in the draft. And this is the closest we have to an Alex Smith available right now in Kirk Cousins. We can't make clones of Smith and Mahomes. This is the best we have after that. And I think that's what they're going for.
I think Kirk is better than Alex Smith too, which is funny. Also, I made a mistake. Patrick Mahomes was the 10th overall pick. For those little nitpickers that grill me about mistakes in my videos, just gotta make a correction on my error there. So humility, number one.
Well, let's get into the last couple of topics. OBJ signed a 1-year deal with the Dolphins. It's nothing big to me, but I do have a question for you, Roberto. Do you think he's overrated in his career? You're a Giants fan. I think, again, he had a couple good years, but it seems to me like his culture effect is actually impacting the way people view his play because he wasn't elite for a good amount of time.
No, the worst thing that happened with Odell Beckham Jr. was when he made that amazing one-handed catch.
Yep.
He became a hero. And what a lot of people forget is they lost that game.
Yeah.
And what happened with Odell Beckham Jr. What happened with Odell Beckham Jr., in my opinion, Odell doesn't really rub me the wrong way. I don't miss him. He was fun to watch. I thought he was a pretty talented wide receiver. I know I have a couple of friends who, when he left, were like, what are they doing? Oh, my God. They're losing their biggest star. Like, relax. This is the Giants growing a backbone and not dealing with, that kind of, unfortunately, for lack of a better phrase, clown behavior. But for Odell Beckham Jr., I think what happened with him is that he realized I don't need to win to be a star. Right. I just need to be very eccentric, very loud, kind of go against the grain. I mean, you remember when he had that interview on ESPN years ago? He was still on the Giants, and he kind of talked about his displeasure with the way things were going, and he had Lil Wayne on with him just for the sake of having Lil Wayne sitting there. Like, why is he there? And you realize all of it is for attention because nowadays you don't need respect. You just need attention. And Odell Beckham Jr. realized that the best way to be a star, which is really, I think, all he cares about. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. has ever gone to a team and genuinely said, how do I put this team in a better position? It's how do I put Odell Beckham Jr. into a better position?
Yeah, I think the Rams, I think when he won with was it the Rams? Am I tripping?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was the only time. I think that was the only time where he genuinely got to a team, was like, hey, I'm going to be here. And then once he tore the ACL in the Super Bowl, it was like, okay, I'm back to old OBJ. I got my ring. I did what I needed to do.
Yeah. But he had said he wanted to go to LA for some time before that. He had said, when he went to LA, oh my God, he wouldn't shut up. And here in New York, the media out here, I can't think of big members of the New York sports media that really liked Beckham. I'm trying to think. I remember, I'll give you one thing, for example, when Eli Manning got benched by that absolute pinhead, Ben McAdoo, when that moron benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith, he benched it for Geno Smith.
And my boy.
Yeah, exactly.
What's up, brother?
Well, Geno didn't beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning did.
Hey, that is true.
But nothing. And all right, I'll put it to you this way: Keaton, nothing against Geno Smith. Nothing against Geno Smith.
That's okay.
Nothing against him. However,
Giants Geno Smith sucked ass. I'll just be.
He did, but trust me,
pre-Seahawks Geno sucked ass.
But and hey, you know what? Sometimes that change of scenery is good for these players, especially out of New York. You see it in multiple sports. But I remember when Eli got benched and they put Geno Smith instead, And, Ben McAdoo and the Giants coaching staff, they almost made it seem like, well, things aren't going well and the buck stops here. We got to get a new quarterback in there and that's going to change things. And we're not going to put up with this anymore. And I remember members of the media saying, okay, you've got a wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr. who literally is acting like a fool, simulating urinating in the end zone when he scores. But yet you're going to put your foot down with Eli Manning. Put your foot down with Beckham. He's the problem. Always, being an issue on the sidelines. Yeah, I mean, he was an issue on the sidelines, and then it would rub off on other players. You saw Ruben Randall acting ways that he had never done before, and it's just something a lot of Giants fans did not miss him when he left.
Right.
I have nothing against him, but I don't miss him. I think he's going to Miami because it's the biggest media market that he can get to in order to continue to improve the Odell Beckham Jr. image. I don't know if he's so much concerned about looking good in the Miami Dolphins uniform as he is just trying to get some cool Instagram pics.
That's actually hilarious. That's actually hilarious. I've seen like a ton of tweets that people are saying like, "Oh, he's just going to all the teams with the cool colors," and I start to think about, I'm like, maybe, like they are like truthful with that. Like LA, they have pretty cool jerseys. Baltimore, Cleveland, not Miami. Like, bro, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. I've been seeing like a lot of like all-time wide receivers. Like they basically make these videos where it's like all-time wide receivers retiring and like getting to the end of their careers and stuff like that with Julio and stuff like that. And they always put OBJ in there. And I'm like, dude, like he's not a Julio. He's not an AB. Like we gotta stop this. We got.
He's a very talented player. That's not a question at all.
For sure.
But, I mean, it's just tough. There's a lot of people who would say, as talented as he is, they wouldn't want him on their team. And that's saying a lot.
1,000 yards since 2019.
That's insane.
Like, that was 5 years ago, bro. 5 years ago, man.
It feels like yesterday, but it's actually 5 years ago. That's the crazy part. But I'm not surprised by him going to Miami. I can picture him wanting to go there just for his own image. Look, Miami has one of the best wide receivers in the league in Tyreek Hill. I mean, you've got an absolute elite wide receiver in Tyreek Hill. They don't need Beckham. So why they got him, I don't know. But I'll put it to you this way. Why the Dolphins picked him up, I don't know. Why he went to Miami, I could understand. That's the way I'll put it.
Right. Anthony, what do you think? I know you heard Eli. Isn't that right, Keaton?
I'll do it.
Let's give him a little flashback.
Tom Brady's daddy.
Flashback.
Grabbing
comment.
Tom Brady's hair. Sorry.
My God.
No, I'm no comment on that.
My little Pats fan.
Got nothing.
Yeah, I think Roberto, you have a great point there. Just like the point, like the reason of him leaving or the reason of him going there makes sense. Why Miami picked him up doesn't necessarily make sense. I will say I think Odell, when he's healthy, can still provide some production to an NFL team. The problem is he's never healthy. That guy has been marred by injury after injury after injury after injury after injury.
He kind of is like JJ Watt.
He does I truly do believe this. Yeah, I truly do believe. Yeah.
Right.
From an outside perspective, I think Odell Beckham could have possibly cemented himself as a possible, very, very minimally possible Hall of Fame level wide receiver if he does not have so many injuries. And he was also in, I mean, look, at the time, Eli Manning didn't really do much in his career other than beat Tom Brady twice, which will always live on as historically. But it wasn't like Eli Manning was this, every year it's like this guy's an MVP caliber player. But if you gave Odell like that opportunity where he's not dealing with an older Eli Manning, I think he could have been so much more productive than we saw. But then he bounced Geno Smith. They had like two different quarterbacks. They went through head coaching changes, general management changes, and then he went to the Browns. He got beat up by Josh Norman, all that. So I felt like he kind of came into that organization during a tumultuous time. and that didn't necessarily set him up, but also injury prone will always trump like basically success. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, moving on to the last couple of topics, I saw something from Austin Rivers. I have no clue what he's yapping about, but he said, I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Do you guys agree with this?
I agree with what JJ Watt said in response.
What did he say?
Let me find it
I feel
here.
like I remember what he said, but I can't remember exactly what he
Let
said.
me get the exact quote because
Yeah.
I don't want to get it.
I feel like I saw
Here it
this.
is. Here it is. I'll do both. So Austin Rivers quote: I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. To which JJ Watt's response is, you don't got a job in either right now. Go ahead and try it.
I was like,
crazy.
damn, dude. That's
Oh my
wild.
I think that transition would be so tough. I think you could make an argument for like prime LeBron being like a tight end. I could see that.
Right.
The issue is the hand-eye coordination is a lot different in football than it is with basketball. Basketball's a
way
lot of like
bigger.
repetitive. Yeah, they're
Way more
bigger. They're
physical.
not. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot more physicality. Actually, one of the few sports where I think a player could transition to football is baseball. I think baseball players have such like amazing hand-eye coordination. And especially like outfielders, they're so quick and they're so quick to react. And just their ability to like Mookie.
receiver.
I think, but Mookie's like an all sport. We've seen
He's a
Mookie play
freak.
basketball. He's a dog.
Bowling,
He's a professional.
He's
He's a
crazy at
professional
bowling.
bowler. He's great at golf. He's great at football.
Right.
I think baseball has more of that than the NBA does. And also, like, if you asked me, out of the top NBA players right now, Giannis, I could not see playing football. I don't think I could see like
Jokic?
Steph Curry, Jokic, Joel Embiid, LeBron possibly. But like the top NBA players, I couldn't necessarily see. Draymond Green. I could see Draymond playing hockey over because just for the fighting reason.
Just
Yeah,
crash out.
Speaking of crashing out, Matthew Tkachuk just absolutely laid out one of the Bruins players and just beat the crap out of him.
What did you say?
I said Tkachuk.
Tkachuk. It's Tkachuk.
It's Tkachuk.
What's
See,
the
I
score?
hate hockey.
It's
Anthony,
6-1. Hang on, let me explain. 6-1.
It's Tkachuk.
Yes.
10 to 11 people have been ejected from the game.
Oh my
There
god.
were 4 huge fights within like 4 minutes.
Oh my god.
And it's just bad.
Wait, it's 6-1 Florida.
Yeah.
Holy.
This game is sloppy.
Mind you guys, it started 1-1, right? Or 2-1 when we started.
It started 1-0.
No, 2-1 when we started the pod though.
Yeah.
And it's been 52 minutes. Wow. Holy shit.
This game has
That
just
is
been
downhill.
sloppy. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Ant's quiet because he's a little depressed right now.
Yeah, I can see it.
You know, it's
So-
so understandable.
I had technical difficulties with the internet, so I had to do the phone thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm
Tuukka
echoing
Rask.
when I hear myself.
Tuukka Rask would have never given up 6 goals in a.
Oh yeah, and
hockey
Zach,
game.
we took Swayman out after goal number 4.
Oh my
Not
god.
It's not good, dude.
That's
It
rough.
is
Oh,
not
see,
good.
Yeah.
we're here.
Ant, do you think Tuukka Rask would give up this many goals in a playoff game?
Probably not. I for sure as hell know Tim Thomas wouldn't.
Is
What
that
about your boy, Keaton?
Antti Niemi? Antti Niemi would have shutout after shutout after shutout after shutout. Antti Niemi is the greatest hockey player to ever play.
I love that. I love
But yeah,
that.
no,
Just-
I'm
Just
the
Sturkin,
game
baby.
got me depressed, but it's also
He's a
because
dog,
I'm
man.
echoing whenever I talk, so that's why I'm also not
Yeah.
really.
It's all
talking
good.
a whole
It's all
lot.
good.
Just get Dominic
okay,
Hasek out of retirement. He could probably help you out at this point.
For real.
Well,
For real.
before we jump into our final topic and wrap this up, Roberto, talk to us a little bit about the Giants offseason.
Yeah,
what
wait.
are your expectations? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And before you do, we made a full segment last week on why we thought the Giants had one of the worst drafts, and we got toasted in the
God.
comments. And then we
Did we?
full
Did
We
blown.
got toasted.
We went
Wait,
full
in
blown
the
on the
YouTube
idea,
comments?
Yeah.
YouTube,
on
TikTok.
everything. We went full blown on the idea that the Giants had a bad draft. Do you think they had a good draft?
I
Because
thought
when
he
you
had an
look at
okay
it,
draft.
when you look at it, we missed a couple players that they obviously picked up in the offseason. But I just think offensive line is a big thing. And you guys signed 2 good players in the offseason that are vets, right? But wouldn't you have wanted to draft at least another one? Or what do you think with the draft? What are your thoughts?
You know, I'm a naturally positive person. So I definitely always try and see the glass half full. That's just who I am. So, you know, I didn't mind the draft. I know, obviously, let me ask, did you guys think it wasn't the best draft for the Giants because we didn't pick up a quarterback?
That was one of our points, yeah.
It was one of our points.
We thought if you weren't going to pick a quarterback, you should pick people to protect him, right?
Yeah, which we didn't. But I will say, you know, in trying to be positive, part of being a football fan, especially a Giants fan these days, is sometimes you just have to accept, look, this is the situation we're in, and this is just what we're going to have to deal with. In terms of the draft, I didn't mind our picks. I think Malik Neighbors obviously is one of the elite wide receivers in the draft. I mean, pretty much it was Harrison Neighbors. I don't think there's much debate on that front. Now, in terms of what Malik Neighbors can contribute to the team, I'd heard the analogy. It's like a really shiny, spick and span, ready to go bullet in a shitty gun. And I think that's what Malik Neighbors is. You know, it's a tremendous wide receiver having to deal with a quarterback who is skeptical on whether or not he's going to be able to get the ball to him.
It's the picture of the Bugatti parked in the trailer park.
Yeah,
exactly.
He did not look happy landing in New York either. When he dapped up your head coach and your owner, he did not look happy, dude. I was like, damn, like you could smile, homie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as Jaden Daniels just absolutely bad-mouthing the dog shit out of the Commanders, and the Commanders picking him up anyway. But I don't think it's that bad. But I don't think Malik Neighbors was doing cartwheels to come to the Giants. But we got him, and I'm excited to see what he does. In terms of my overall thoughts on the Giants going into the offseason, there's really a few points. Obviously, the big thing is that I have a lot of questions for the Giants going into the season that I'm very interested and curious to see whether or not they get answered and what those answers are going to be. Obviously, the first big question is how are we going to look with Saquon Barkley no longer there? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. To segue off of that, I would say us picking up Devin Singletary is not a bad idea because, like you guys talked about, you know, we don't have the strongest offensive line. We don't have the strongest we don't have the strongest guys in the trenches defending the quarterback, defending the running back. And with Saquon Barkley, as good as he is, I was about to say was, but he's not retired. As good as he is, you know, Saquon was the kind of guy where he needed a little bit of breathing room. You know, you had to give him some space from those defenders in order for him to really kind of get you some really significant running yards. Whereas with Devin Singletary, it seems like he's a little bit more of a contact running back. You know, he's not afraid to kind of get his hands dirty, you know, bite down on that mouthpiece and still get you, you know, a few yards, especially when you need it on like a 3rd and short, stuff like that. Obviously, that harkens back to Daniel Jones and whether or not he's going to be able to get you to a 3rd and short, or is every other play going to be a 3rd and long situation? You know, because you've got a defense like, you know, the 49ers, for example. You guys have a defense that can stop the run very well. And so, you know, I'm very afraid to see what it would look like with your defense, you know, and Daniel Jones trying to deal with that. And then he either can't pass the ball to an elite wide receiver, or you have a running back in Singletary who, as good as I think he is, I don't know if he's going to be the guy to get you a lot of yards in particular. But I think he's going to be a good fit for that offensive line, given the holes there, because I think he can pick up and not be afraid to get some yards when you need it while dealing with contact. I'll tell you something else, too. One big question I have is what's going to happen at the tight end position for the Giants. Mm-hmm. I personally really, really like Darren Waller, but I don't know where his head is or his heart.
Shout out the cheating tight end.
That might be the worst take I had before we started the season. I thought Darren Waller was going to be the tight end number 1 or tight end number 2 in fantasy.
You were stroking his meat.
He was dog shit. Dude, I was glazing it. I thought he was going to do so well there.
It did too.
So much sense.
I like. Look, he's an all-pro tight end. You know, he's an elite tight end. You know, and obviously the question is, you know, whether or not he was going to be able to stay within the numbers and, you know, work that middle coverage against a safety or a linebacker. And obviously, you know, when he's not given the opportunity to do so, I think that's when you could possibly see some hindering in his performance. But I was always a big fan of him. I still am. I just don't know where he is because obviously going into the offseason now, he had talked about how he doesn't really know what his future is in football. The Giants said they were going to give him space in order to make that decision, which I respect the Giants for doing that. I think that's nice of them.
Yeah.
But, Dana White talks about it with his fighters. If you have to think about retiring and the thoughts crossing your head about the fact that you want to retire, then you should probably retire.
Right.
Yeah, football's tough, man. And if you're not all in, especially on a team like the Giants that demands so much because of that franchise's history, then get out. And as much as I like you, I think that's the case for Darren Waller. And then on top of that, I'm not a big fan of bringing people's personal lives into their sports performance, but I think for Darren Waller, it is worth mentioning that he's coming off of a divorce. He's 2 weeks removed. He got divorced on the 23rd from WNBA player Kelsey Plum. And I don't know what Darren's thoughts are on. Yeah, exactly.
That shit's crazy. That shit's crazy.
And, I know Kelsey herself has come out in public and said that it's been a tough offseason for her with the divorce. And she doesn't play football. So, no disrespect to basketball players, but football's tough. It's different. I'm not going to say it's better or worse. I'm not going to say one's stronger or weaker. It's just different. And if Kelsey Plum's having a tough offseason getting ready to play basketball, Darren Waller's going to have a tough offseason too because Kelsey Plum's going to have to go against Caitlin Clark. And we know the kind of monsters, linebackers that Darren Waller would have to go up against. Now, be that as it may with Darren Waller, we'll see what he does. I have no expectations. I don't have high or low expectations because I just don't know what's going to happen. I will say that I am not as concerned about the tight end position as I was prior. I'm not as concerned about the tight end position now as I was prior to the draft because of one of the guys we picked up, and that's Theo Johnson from Penn State. Mm-hmm. I was actually watching some highlights of his before, and I mean, he looked exactly like you would expect a tight end to perform. Somebody who's not afraid to, work outside the numbers and even pick up some yardage because he's actually surprisingly fast for a tight end. I saw here that his 40 time was 4.57, which is actually above average. I think the average tight end is like a 4.7 versus the 4.5 that
Daniel Bellinger. Isn't that his name?
I think so. Yeah. I was looking at it the other day, but yeah. But I was happy with the pickup, and also too, with Darren Waller, I remember when the Giants first got him. One thing that is a big tool in his toolbox that made him one of the elite tight ends in the league was his size. 6'6", 240. Theo Johnson's 6'6", 260. So he's actually big. He's huge. Yeah, that's a big guy. So I think if he can come into the league and, I don't know how long it'll be before they have him playing, but, I think he's got the tools in the toolbox to at least give us something along the lines of a Darren Waller. Obviously, you don't know if someone's going to be a Darren Waller because when Darren Waller's all in, he's one of the elite tight ends in this game. I would have put him right up there with Kelsey and Jacobs and Kittle. That's just me personally. Maybe you guys disagree, but that's just the way I think of it. Furthermore, for the Giants, I would say, look, we got to address the elephant in the room. The quarterback situation, it is what it is, right? Dable stuck his neck out when he did to get Jones that contract. And whether we like it or not, Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback for the New York Giants going into 2024. He just is. What I can expect from Daniel Jones, I'm not fully sure because I know that we've won in the playoffs with him before. I think we beat the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, last time we won in the playoffs. And Daniel Jones, I believe he was the quarterback for that game.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, we've won in the playoffs with him before. We haven't won much, but we've won with him. And I think if he can utilize the tools that he has at his disposal, even with an offensive line that's really not up to par, I think we can make some noise. I think we can make some noise. But really, the only thing I have going into the season is just questions that I'm interested to see what the answers are to. And, the last point I'll make is that Brian Burns is an absolute monster.
Dude, he's a
there's just no way around it. He's a dog. He is a beast. Now, obviously, we'll see, defensively if he can pick that up, because
he's worth every penny there.
We'll see if he is. That's kind of been a matter of contention here. Some people are wondering, is someone in that position worth the money they have, especially when it seems like they need to bolster up their offensive line rather than their defensive backs. But we'll see what they choose to do. So, or we'll see how they go with these choices that they've made. But I'm going to remain optimistic for the Giants. I think that we've got some tools in the toolbox to at least make some noise, and we'll see what we do. Obviously, we don't have to worry as much about the Cowboys probably as we would have in years past. But I could be wrong because football's a crazy game. But for the Giants,
what are the expectations? 500? Below 500? Wild card? What do you think?
I was teetering. I'm gonna say wild card. Maybe that's a stretch, but I'm gonna say wild card. Obviously, we're not gonna be at the top of the division. I don't think anyone's gonna be that crazy to say that. But I wouldn't be surprised wild card. Just see what happens from there. Football playoffs are crazy, man. They really are. They're not as predictable as other sports. So, if we can get to the dance, catch lightning a couple times and see what happens. But I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm going to say a little above 500 in wild card. I think we'll be all right.
Cool. Well, the last topic that we have is just UFC. You said that you're a huge fan, so
I am. Yeah. Oh well, I mean, there's definitely a lot going on in the UFC right now. Obviously, we're not that far off. We're far removed from UFC 300, which obviously was, a killer card. Oh my god. And obviously, coming off of that card, the question is, where do you see fighters going in the future? I don't know. I mean, are you guys, Zach, I know you're a fan of UFC. Keaton, Anthony, are you guys also fans of UFC as well? Or?
Yeah. I'm definitely UFC. Sorry, go ahead, Ant.
I was going to say I am. I just don't really watch it too often. Like, I don't really follow any of it. Like, whenever we watch UFC, I always have to ask one of the fellas, like, hey, what's up with this? Like, and then I'll get into it.
Gotcha.
I definitely watch it, but I'm not going to be like, oh my god, I got it. Like the UFC 300. I was definitely not like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm missing this. Like, I know it's going to be good, but I'm not like, oh god,
you missed a lot.
When I walked into Dave and Buster's, me and my girlfriend and our roommates went to Dave and Buster's. And as I didn't know, Dave and Buster's does UFC events, which is the closest to me. And so when we walked in, I walked in right as Jose Aldo knocked out. Who was it? Was it who did he knock out?
Oh, Martinez. That was 301. Yeah, Jose Aldo, Jonathan Martinez. I can talk about that too. Yeah. That was a good fight.
Yeah.
Aldo was good.
It might have been 300. But it was whoever got knocked out. I walked in right when it happened. I go, yeah, I love watching this, but I'm not gonna like. If it's on and I'm home, I'm going to turn it on. Yeah. I'm just not going to turn other things off to turn it on.
It's funny too, because you talk about older athletes. That guy you saw knocking that guy out, Jose Aldo, that guy's 37.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah, he's had a great last 2 years.
Yeah. No, he looks solid. But with
UFC, his downfall because of McGregor?
Well, what happened with Conor McGregor was, the way I put it is Jose Aldo lost that fight the Tuesday before, when he flew into Vegas.
Dude,
he lost that fight before he set foot in the octagon. Exactly. He lost it before he ever set foot in the octagon. Conor McGregor got in his head and he played him like a fiddle. There's just no other way to put it. It was bad. And I honestly felt bad. Aldo looked sick in that fight. He looked pale. He looked off. He shouldn't have even fought. He should have said, hey, I stubbed my toe on a thumbnail and I got to go home. But he obviously fought, and 13 seconds later, he's no longer featherweight champion of the world. But,
he fought for 13 seconds.
Yeah.
No shit, dude.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't have to use the bathroom. Yeah, all 13 seconds. But really with UFC, there's really a lot of things going on right now. I think I'm very excited for, obviously, the return of McGregor. I don't really know. Oh, boy, that's tough. I think my gut says Chandler because he's such a dog. He's a real gamer. He's a real competitor.
Also got
think, well, he actually is hittable. Guys have knocked him down in the past. Obviously, he got stopped by Oliveira. Gaethje knocked him down. Poirier, before he got that choke, managed to land some big shots. And I think Conor still got that power. It's just we haven't seen him really land flush on a guy in some time. But I think, if Conor can go in there and attack Chandler's legs, stop the takedowns, which he's shown. What's up?
Has he not fought since 2021? Has it been 3 years?
Chandler? You're talking about Chandler or
no.
McGregor?
McGregor.
Yeah, he broke his leg.
Yeah.
He broke his leg against
Wow,
Poirier.
I thought that was 2 years ago. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, no, 3. It's crazy. Yeah, he broke his leg against Poirier. And
Dude, the
he's
shit
been
that
out
he would
since.
say it too on the ground was wild.
Oh my
I
God,
could
that was
not
one of the
believe that.
funniest. And then Joe wrote, you're talking about the post-fight interview, right?
Yes, while he's
Oh
on
my
the ground
God,
with a
dude.
snapped leg. Like,
And
dude,
then
He's
Joe,
in my DMs.
Joe, oh my God, dude, that was the best. That was the absolute best. And then, he's out there and even Joe was asking him like, Connor, it seemed like Dustin checked the leg kicks and he grabbed him like there was no check. No one of them were checked.
No check.
But yeah, he's so funny. He's so funny. He's like, oh, blame Jesus' games a madhouse, and all that stuff. But
Right.
I think for Connor, my gut, I'm going to go with Chandler. I'm going to say Chandler. I think Chandler takes it because I think he's just so dialed in. And even though Chandler hasn't fought in a while either, so it's not like Chandler just fought a couple of months ago either. But I think he's chomping at the bit for a shot at McGregor. And I think McGregor is chomping at the bit for a chance to get back in the octagon. Whether or not it's against Chandler that he really wants to be back against, I don't know. But the UFC is giving him Michael Chandler, and that's who he has to fight, and he wants to fight. So I'm gonna say that Chandler does take it though. But there's other fights going on. I think this
I hope
is
McGregor wins it though.
I do too. My heart, my gut, and my head says Chandler, but my heart, I would like Connor because when Connor wins, things are fun. The weird thing is the fight's at welterweight. It's not at lightweight. So both guys are moving up because Chandler came into the UFC at lightweight. He got his title shot at lightweight. I don't think he's had a fight at welterweight in the UFC. I think this will be his first one. Why they're choosing to go to welterweight, I don't know. Maybe it's just easier for both guys. They don't want to have to deal with that cut. But, I'm not fully sure as to why they chose to do that. But this summer as a whole is actually going to be pretty good for UFC fans as well. You got UFC 302, which is actually here in New Jersey where the Devils play.
Are you going to go to it?
I mean, we'll see how much tickets are. We'll see.
Yeah, they're probably expensive.
They are expensive. It depends on the caliber of the event. I mean, if you've got two Joe Schmoes fighting at, the Dahlberg Arena in Missoula, Montana, you're not really going to have to pay that much. For a lightweight title fight, you might have to cough up some coin. But, I don't know if you saw who's headlining that. It's going to be Makhachev is defending the lightweight belt against Poirier. So they're going to give
that's right. That's right.
They are. Yep. I'm really excited for that fight. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in
his last one or something like that.
Well, he said he thinks it's going to be his. It is. I saw his whole career, and I think it's going to be sad. I know what he had said was that he's bringing his daughter to the fight because he wanted her to be there. I think it's going to be the first time he ever brings his kid to a fight because he's convinced, and I think it makes sense that this is probably the last title shot he's going to get, which is kind of sad because I don't know anyone who doesn't like Dustin Poirier. And, I mean, I love him.
That is sad, man.
But be that as it may, it's still a very interesting fight. I'm always interested in fights where it's southpaw against southpaw. I think those always make for very interesting matchups because you're so used to seeing if there is a southpaw, it's usually southpaw versus orthodox because most fighters are right-handed. Most people are right-handed. At least it seems that way. But what's interesting with Makhachev is that although he fights southpaw, which is a left-handed stance, he's actually right-handed. So he leads with his leading hand. You don't really see that a lot.
Interesting.
So it'll be very interesting to see what he chooses to do, how he chooses to go about that fight against Dustin Poirier. So that's another good fight as well. And then we just had the card in Brazil. I don't know if you caught any of that. Keaton, I know you said you caught some of Jose Aldo at the end there.
Yeah, I think I caught his knockout.
That's an interesting situation going on there too, because you've got a guy in Aldo who, although he's 37, seemingly looks as good as he's ever looked. I mean, Prime Aldo is one of the best fighters to ever grace the octagon.
Ever, yeah.
I mean, I remember I was actually telling this to. I watched UFC 301 with my dad, and I remember telling him during the fight because my dad was asking me because I had seen more of Aldo's career than he did, and he goes, do you remember Jose Aldo? Back in his prime, when he fought in the WEC and stuff like that. And I said, look. There's no way around it. Jose Aldo is one of the best athletes I've ever seen compete in mixed martial arts. Right. I mean, just an absolute tank, especially for a guy that small, to be as powerful as he was.
Actually considered like one of the GOATs before the McGregor fight?
Oh my God, yeah. And he still is considered one of the GOATs. I mean, McGregor definitely was a bump in the road to Jose Aldo's legacy.
That was
I mean, he was the guy who came in. He was the UFC's first ever featherweight champion. Came in, I think it was UFC 129. I think was his first ever fight in the UFC in front of like 60,000 people against a Canadian in Canada, a guy named I forget the guy's name now. I want to say Mark Hominick, I believe was the guy's name.
Right.
Might be getting it mixed up with someone else. But he basically beat a Canadian in Canada in front of 60,000 Canadians, and he kicked the dog shit out of them. And he did it for 5 rounds. So, when you see stuff like that, that's tough to do because enemy territory and home field advantage is a real thing in mixed martial arts. So those fans will get in your head. They will get in your head. It is not that hard to do, and Aldo could seemingly give a shit. Now, part of it, I'm sure it helps that Aldo doesn't speak English very well, so I'm sure he might not fully know exactly what the fans are like, fuck you, and he's like, oh, nice to meet you, obrigado, whatever he says. But either way, it's interesting with Aldo right now because he's kind of on a trajectory where I wouldn't be surprised if even at 37 years old he gets a title shot because he's in a division that's really nobody really knows what's going on with that division because it's bantamweight, which the champion is Sugar Sean O'Malley. So it's interesting in that you have a champion who's a star, at least in MMA, he's a star. Fight. And that would be a crazy fight because you've got a champion. I would watch. I mean, look, I'm probably going to watch it anyway, but there's definitely added incentive to watch it because you've got a division with a champion who's an absolute star. And then after the champion, there's really not a lot going on. I mean, you've got Marab, you've got some other guys who definitely are contenders, but they're not real names. They're not guys who you go, oh my God, I'm chomping at the bit to see the Sugar Show going up against this guy. With Jose Aldo in the mix, that changes because you say, okay, you've got this legend who's a name in his own right, and he's also a legend who clearly still has some gas in the tank.
Yeah,
and still can really tear it up. It's one thing if Jose Aldo came back and looked like shit, and then a guy got hurt, and then they give Aldo a title shot just to say, hey, thanks for everything. You're going to get your ass kicked, but here's a title shot. With Jose Aldo, he's got a real chance to go in there. And look, he'll probably retire afterwards if he wants to get that shot. But he's really got a chance to go in there and at least give Sean some trouble. Sean has proven to be hittable, especially to the body, especially against Cheeto Vera, which that fight was a little boring. But Cheeto managed to hit some big shots on Sean. So it would be interesting to see what he does there. Beyond that, when it comes to the UFC, my favorite fighters right now are you got Alex Pereira. I love Poatan, who he headlined 300. Shama, I mean, oh my God.
Insane, dude. So intimidating.
He's so scary. He is so scary.
I would never want to be in an octagon with that guy, ever.
He lives about 25 minutes from where I live. He trains in Danbury, which is just a little in-state from where I live. And so the fact that I live in the same state as Alex Pereira is terrifying. I definitely look both ways when I walk out of the house just to make sure he's not in a tree with a bow and arrow. But he's a tremendous fighter. I mean, there's just no way around it. And it's very interesting to see what he does. He's in a division too where I think light heavyweight's a similar situation to bantamweight right now, where you've got a champion that people love, is a star. And for Alex Pereira too, he's a star purely out of people's fear and respect of him. It's not like Alex is this shining personality who's on podcasts and drawing millions of followers. He's not talking his way into anything. He's just so freaking scary. And he harkens back to a time when you had fighters who were terrifying. When I was a kid, I first started watching UFC around 7, 8 years old. And, the sport was very different back then, because when I was a kid, people kind of looked at UFC differently. It wasn't this mainstream sport, where you're seeing it featured now on Fox and ESPN and legitimate journalists are having, real conversations about it. When I was growing up, people kind of gave UFC the side eye. People kind of looked down on UFC. It was kind of, even if you were a UFC fan, it was kind of like your dirty little secret. You didn't go telling everybody you were a UFC fan. It's just something you watched, on Saturday nights when you had a beer and were by yourself. I wasn't drinking beer at 8 years old, but I was watching UFC. I will admit that.
Right.
But one thing I can remember is that fighters, maybe it's because I was just a kid, but fighters back then were terrifying. Chuck Liddell with his mohawk and his, Chinese.
Right? Oh my God! All on steroids.
Oh my God, dude, those guys.
Scary looking motherfuckers.
Oh my God, dude. And you just had guys who were terrifying. Guys who you thought they'd eat your lunch and then eat you. They were just and nowadays there's a lot of guys that listen, yes, they can whip your ass 6 ways to Sunday and tie you in a knot with their jujitsu, but at first glance, they're not the toughest looking guys. I'm a fan of Sugar Sean O'Malley, but the average guy is probably not going to look at someone with a pink afro and all those tattoos and that unique personality and go, wow, that guy's intimidating, Whereas with a Chuck Liddell, yeah, you're probably not going to want to cross paths with Chuck Liddell because he looks like he'll kill you, and he probably can.
Right.
Whereas with Alex Pereira, today, he harkens back to that time where there were fighters who were actually scary and actually going, oh my God, I would not screw with that guy. And I think that's what Alex Pereira is. And he's the champion in a division that's not stacked right now. So it's interesting to see what they choose to do. I think maybe Magomed Ankalaev is the guy that they give the shot next to. Well, with John Jones, that was actually my next point. What's that?
He'd have to go up in weight, right?
Well, Pereira would have to go up. I don't think John's ever going to fight at 205 again. Yeah. I really don't know if John Jones is ever going to fight again, period. That's really the problem, too, with John Jones, because he got hurt. I think he tore something in his shoulder leading up to the Miocic fight. And I guess I'll use that as a segue to talk about heavyweight, and then we can end it here. But when it comes to heavyweight in the UFC, I think the best thing that can happen for the heavyweight division is that both John Jones and Stipe Miocic retire. I have some acquaintances. Yeah, I do. And I'm going to tell you why. John is great. John's an all-time great fighter. In fact, John is the greatest fighter, in my opinion, to ever set foot in the octagon.
I love that take. I'm so glad you think that.
He's the GOAT. He's MJ, man. There's nobody who could touch John Jones.
He didn't even lose. He never lost. Disqualification.
He never lost. Look, going into the Miocic fight, which didn't happen, but leading into the Miocic fight last November that was supposed to take place in the Garden, and you had John Jones who, after Miocic was going to fight him in the Garden, before John Jones got hurt, I was telling people, dude, this fight is not a contest. I have a better chance against John Jones, seemingly, than Stipe Miocic does. And I'm obviously kidding when I say that, but the point is, for Stipe, he's already in his 40s. He wasn't going to beat John. He's never going to beat John. And I really don't know if John wants to keep fighting anymore. I really don't. And I don't know if he wants to fight a lot of these heavyweights. So, yes, he can beat them. But if there's going to be this real bottleneck where he just logjams the division because he disappears for a period of time, then the best thing that can happen to the heavyweight division is that John Jones retires, Stipe Miocic retires, and you open the way for a legitimate 4 heavyweights in their primes to duke it out. You've got Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, and Jailton Almeida. That's more than enough for a division to have a solid core. Look, in boxing, I'll say this point and then we can end it. Boxing heavyweight division is the marquee, right? Those are the fights that draw. I don't care how popular Mayweather was. I don't care how popular Canelo is. A big heavyweight fight doesn't get any better than that. And in the UFC, I think that is also possibly the case. Outside of Conor McGregor, a big heavyweight fight is going to sell. And look no further than the fact that in boxing, you just had 2 heavyweights come in, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. And those 2 guys alone breathed a lot of life into the heavyweight division. UFC has 4 guys, double that, who can really come in and just continue to light it up at heavyweight, at least for a couple of years. But I think in order for that to happen, John Jones needs to retire and Stipe needs to retire. And then you're going to see a lot more fun heavyweight fights in the future for the UFC. And that's all I got, man. That's all I got. I can go more, but there's a lot going on with UFC right now. There's a lot happening. It's a lot of fun, keening in. I would recommend you guys definitely check out some of these upcoming pay-per-views. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I'm not saying you have to become fans, but for what it's worth, I'm sure you're going to see some really, really solid fights this summer.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
I'm excited.
Right. Well, I believe that wraps up our episode, unless you guys have any final thoughts.
No.
Nothing. Cool. Well, Roberto, it's been a pleasure, man. Seriously.
Oh, guys, pleasure's all mine. Guys, honestly, thank you so much. This was a blast. Big fan of yours. I'm sure you guys will see me in the chats, in upcoming episodes, I'll probably definitely hop on. You guys are going live tomorrow, right? Settle Down live tomorrow. I'll definitely hop onto there. I'll be sure to check that out. And Zach, obviously, pleasure meeting you, chatting with you, Keaton, Anthony, everyone. I'm so happy to be on here. You guys I'm a big fan of what you guys do, and I'd love to be on in the future. I'm not gonna lie, this was definitely a lot of fun.
Perfect. Well, we're happy to have you on.
Oh, pleasure's all mine, man.
Thanks again, man. Thanks again.
Of course, thank you, and go Bruins. I'd like to face you guys. I'd like to see us against you. So go Bruins.
We're hoping.
Yeah,
we're hoping.
They played well today. They played well today.
Okay. Well, that wraps it up.
Man.
Please like and subscribe. We'll catch y'all next time.
Later.